Welcome to the Digital Dealer Conference and the Talent Optimization presentation. My name's Kevin Hall. I'm the Manager of Dealer Talent Services at JM&A. I'm excited to be chatting with you today, specifically on a topic that I'm passionate about. Before we dive into the topic, I'd love to share with you how I became so passionate about the talent space. About 10 years ago, myself and 5 business partners started a company focused on executive recruiting and consulting. During the first 3 years of our business, we had steady growth. In 2013, we had experienced exponential growth, and we grew from a staff of 25 to over 100 within 9 months. Needless to say, it was an exciting time, but it was also really painful. And some of the challenges that we faced were all people-oriented. So we would hire, train, fire. We would hire, train, people would quit repeatedly over and over and over again for a very long period of time. And the challenge that I had was there's got to be a better way. And from that experience, and over the past 7 years, I've invested a lot of time and effort into understanding talent and how to more effectively align talent to your business strategies. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about how to effectively align your jobs to your digital transformation. What we're going to go over: first, we're going to talk about the automotive landscape today. Then we're going to define and understand what job alignment is. We're also going to spend some time effectively discussing how to align your talent to your digital strategies. And finally, my goal is that you have enough information and ammo to take action at the end of this call. So let's talk about the automotive landscape today from a talent perspective. All of these numbers up here probably aren't any surprises to you. We have turnover issues. We've added a lot of jobs over the past decade. We have challenges attracting individuals to our industry. The number that really stands out to me from a cost perspective is this 39%. 39% of our turnover in the dealership takes place within the first 90 days. So what that tells me is that potentially a dealer could be hiring 2 to 4 people to fill one role. And if we use NAD numbers on cost to hire, so it's cost to recruit and onboard new associates, that number is anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000 per associate. So that seat could cost a dealer anywhere from $10,000 to $60,000 on an annual basis. That's a really big number. The other big piece is over the past decade, we've had really good growth. Therefore, we've added a lot of jobs into the industry, 300,000 jobs to be specific. Now, I would love to say all of those jobs were due to growth, but unfortunately, that's not true. What we've actually done in the industry is when we have a problem, very similar to other industries, is if we can't solve it or don't have a solution or don't have the time to solve it, we throw money at it. And that's what we've done with our people. The example is, let's hire 10 sales associates so 2 stick. That, again, is costing our dealership a ton of money. But more important, it actually is ruining the reputation of the automotive dealer industry from a place of career advancement. Only 1.25% of job seekers would consider working at a retail automotive sales position. And that number is really bad today, and it's tough for us today to hire people. But what gets me concerned is the future of our business. As this digital world continues to evolve, as we begin to do less or more with less, if we can't attract new skills into our industry, we're going to have some challenges. Through our research and through our time working, understanding this data, we've identified a couple forces that are driving disengagement at the dealership that are opportunities for our dealers to take advantage of or address. Those are job fit, manager, team, and culture. This is an overview of the landscape today. And what you'll notice on this landscape is that there are 2 types of employees at a dealership. There's the have to employees and the want to employees. The have to employees, these are the individuals that show up late, leave early. They have that grass is greener mentality. And what happens is these individuals aren't getting the amount of support or coaching from the dealerships. And it's actually made the dealers approach talent from in the first 90-day period as a sink or swim mentality. Let's not give them a lot of training or support until they've proved themselves. And this is having repercussions on our want to employees in a couple ways. And our want to employees, these are the individuals that we want to hire. These are the individuals that are the go-getters. These are the folks that come out hot when they first start on the job. The sales example of 10 cars the first month, 12 cars the second month, 10 cars the third month, and then something happens in that fourth, fifth month, and you start to see those numbers go down, and ultimately the individual exits. And that's what we see a tremendous amount of turnover. And what we've identified is these four forces, job, manager, team, and culture, are the opportunities for our dealers to address. Today, we're going to focus on one of those forces, which is job alignment. What is job alignment? A well-aligned job is designed to achieve specific department and organizational goals and provides employees a good balance of challenge, support, and learning. This is really important to understand. Most organizations, most dealers focus on developing a strategy, developing a target, and then worry about the people later or maybe not at all. And what this is telling us is that when you don't think about your people and align them to your objectives, they actually burn out faster. They're not engaged. The three reasons why people leave a job is the job that they agreed to do or the manager they agreed to work with are different than what they expected. The second is they don't see opportunities to grow personally or financially. And the third is they're not learning. So when you really begin to think through your digital transformation, your digital strategies, you need to ensure that you have the right objectives, but that you do take the time to align your people to those objectives and think through how are they going to be challenged? What type of support are they going to need? Also, what are they learning? So when you think about business targets, when you think about your employees, make sure that when you start to really develop your strategy, they are top of mind. So what is the first step that you need to do to align your talent? The first step is you need to set a job target, or you need to set a target, an objective. So what is it that you want to achieve? In this digital transformation, what are you trying to accomplish? An example could be a 10% lift in revenue using digital technologies and tools. You have to get specific and understand why you want that lift. Why do you want to achieve that target? By becoming very specific and clear about this, you can then determine what success looks like. And it's crucial to understand what success looks like, not only for the dealer or for the GM or for the senior leadership, but also for the frontline employees. What does it mean when we achieve this objective to them? Getting very clear on that is an important step of setting and making sure that your target's achieved. The other big piece is make sure it's an easy target to track and measure. If it's complex, if it's hard to understand, you're not going to get your team, the people, the frontline employees that are actually driving that process to actually get behind it. So make sure it's easy to track and understand. The final piece is your job as a leader, your job as a dealer, your job as a GM is to communicate what the objective is. You need to sell the vision. And you need to make sure that by communicating this target, that you make sure that you clearly state what success looks like for everybody involved in the dealership. So by us increasing our revenue by 10%, leveraging digital tools and technology, that means for the frontline employees that you're going to see a 13% increase on your compensation, or that we're going to increase our car sales by 100 a month. Be very clear so everyone understands the value in it. Once you've set your target, we now need to dive into strategy. And there's three simple steps for strategy. We need to think about our people, we need to think about our process, and we need to think about technology. Now, unfortunately today, most organizations and dealers focus on two of these three, process and technology. Some dealers focus heavy on process, little on technology. Some dealers focus heavy on technology, little on process. Both dealers spend little time really thinking through how their people can actually help them achieve those targets or layer into these processes and technologies. We're going to talk about people in the next couple of slides, but on this slide, let's focus on understanding process and technology. In my opinion, start first with process. What are the things that we need to redesign? What are the things we need to implement? What are the process changes we have to do to achieve our objective of a 10% lift in revenue, leveraging digital tools and technologies? Once we understand our process and the flow of our process, it's then important to start to look at technology and which technologies can enhance our process. What are the technologies that can improve our efficiencies from a time and cost perspective? Too often we see the shiny new technology be bought and then we build process around it. That's a recipe for disaster. So start first with process, understand the flow and how you can achieve your objective through these processes, then look at technology as an enhancement to improving the efficiencies of time and money. Now, most important is we need to understand our people and how they align to these processes, these technologies, to ensure that we can achieve that objective. One thing that I haven't mentioned that I think is important to say is if you don't think about your people first and you set an objective that you don't have the talent to achieve that objective, I don't care how great the process is, I don't care how great the technology is, it's going to be very difficult to achieve that objective. You're setting yourself up for failure. So remember to think about your people when you're setting your objective and how these individuals will overlap or deliver the process through the technology that you decide to move forward with. Now, the meat of this presentation. How do you align your talent to the strategy? How do you align your talent to achieve that objective? You need to take the time to redesign or redo certain aspects of job descriptions that are tasked with these new processes, leveraging these new technologies to deliver that objective. So how do you go about redesigning a job? The first thing you have to do is you have to understand the difference between a task and a skill. A task is a job responsibility. So let's use the example of accounting. If an accountant job task are month-end close, payroll processing, cutting checks. When we look at hiring for an individual, we look to see do they have experience doing those tasks and do they have the skill sets to effectively deliver those tasks at scale. And so a skill is actually the ability of that person to execute the job responsibilities. So going back to the example of accounting, month-end close, processing payroll, cutting checks are the tasks. The skills are good with numbers, process-oriented, attention to detail. So when you start to understand task versus skill, then we can start to really redesign the jobs that we need and to deliver on our digital strategy. Now, it's important to note, with the evolution of this digital world we live in, the shelf life on a task is shrinking. Today, most of our dealers that I've spoken with hire for tasks. Can they deliver on the job responsibilities with minimal time or with minimal investment in time? Can they ramp up quickly? We hire for tasks and then we think about skills later. I encourage you to reverse that. Skill sets are changing, or the tasks are changing so quickly because of the technology and all these other tools. You need to hire for skills because you can train tasks. So the skills that I would encourage you to look for are agility, ability to adapt to change, and the ability to problem solve. Now, I know most of you on this call may be thinking, well, Kevin, how do I determine what tasks how do I determine tasks and the skills I need for those tasks? And that's a hard process. That's complex. That takes a lot of time. I want to share with you, if you're not today using behavioral assessments to understand your employees' drives and needs to better predict behaviors, you're doing yourself a disservice. One of the action items that we're going to talk about later on is investing in behavioral assessments. Now, most dealers today use behavioral assessments to hire. I would actually say hiring is a key component of it to use them, but it's crucial to use it in your people management, in your strategy development. Here's an example of how we use people data and our strategy so that we can align our people most effectively. This is a circle and a tool that we use. The green are the skills. These are the natural skills of our employees. The blue dots are our people, and the purple is the strategy that we want to execute on from a digital perspective. You'll notice that we are healthy in the exploring bucket. We have the ability to execute in the stabilizing bucket, but we're struggling today in the cultivation. So when I take a look at this, there's a big red flag that pops up that part of our strategy that includes the cultivation or team cohesion of individuals, we lack from a skill set perspective. So therefore, we're not going to be able to fully execute on that, or that's a part of our strategy that's at risk. So how do we fill that risk and make sure that we minimize it? We can either hire externally, which is a good option depending on the type of skill set that you need, or you can look at your current employees and understand who is best fit or who has the natural ability to stretch themselves into that cultivation component. Remember, one of the number one reasons why people leave a job is they don't feel as if they're learning or growing. This is a great opportunity to invest in your talent, help them, challenge them, support them, and teach them new skills. By doing that, you increase engagement and also the retention of these associates. The last thing I'm going to mention is creating a talent committee to assist in your strategy, job alignment. So if you're thinking through people, we all have bias. By creating an objective talent committee from individuals across your organization that see things from a different lens, you remove that bias that then allows you to look at your people more effectively to understand how they can be best positioned to achieve our business objectives and targets. Again, leveraging people data from an objective perspective can shed light on some of these individuals from a different point of view that we can then use to coach, we can then use to develop, or candidly, we can also use that to have the individual move out of our organization if they're not aligned with where we're trying to go. So I want to give a quick example of putting this all together. So as I mentioned around objectives, right? Our objective is to increase revenue by 10% using digital tools and technologies and processes. So our process, there's a number of processes that we would have to do to achieve that, but we're going to select one and we're going to implement a virtual or digital F&I process. We believe that by implementing a virtual or digital F&I process, we should be able to increase or be able to chunk out 2% of that 10%. Now, the technology that we want to use based off of our virtual F&I process is we want to leverage Darwin with a Zoom integration for our home deliveries so we can still get some of that backside profit on the home delivery side through a virtual F&I process. How do we align our people to this strategy? Again, by understanding performance and people data, we can create a better framework to align our people to our strategy. So JM&A has been in business for a number of years, focused in F&I, and so we have a tremendous amount of people data from a performance perspective and from a behavioral perspective. You'll notice here this orange line is the traditional F&I individual. This is an individual that is highly independent, likes to be in control, is task-oriented, is quick to connect with people and build relationships, is also very careful with rules. And if you think about the F&I person, that makes a ton of sense. They like to control the conversation because the customer walks into their office. They need to quickly connect with this individual so that they can build rapport to gain trust so that we can sell them more products. But then from a rules perspective is we also have compliance behind that we need to make sure that we cross our T's and dot our I's on so that we can actually get paid on that. So when you think about the virtual F&I individual, and we've actually have been testing virtual F&I for 2 years and delivered 6,600 deals. So we have a lot of performance data as well as people and behavioral data behind this, is we understand that the biggest difference is on the collaboration versus independence. And if you think about that, using Zoom, the customer coming into the Zoom call, they're at the comfort of their home. We're not in control of the situation. We need to be more collaborative and people-oriented to really drive the relationship so that we can still do the same things that we're trying to accomplish in a traditional F&I setting, but slightly different for the virtual. So by understanding this, we can now appropriately put the right person in the right seat at the right time. Now, some strategies or some dealers may say, well, do I need to hire an individual specifically for virtual F&I? Depending on your volume. But if you're, my opinion is, potentially you could ghostlight this traditional F&I individual. We could provide support, we could provide some training, we could provide some insights to help them specifically become more collaborative when they're doing virtual deals versus traditional deals. Again, going back to those 3 things that why people leave a job, this also gives me the opportunity to keep a high-performing F&I individual. They're learning a new skill set, and they have the opportunity to make more money. So increased engagement and increased retention. So finally, I want you guys to take action from our conversation today. So the first thing I need you guys to do is make a talent committee. This is important because it allows you to provide objective insights around hiring, promoting talent, and be a sounding board to help align your business and people strategies. The second piece is measure what matters. Introduce, if you haven't already, and use and understand your talent's natural drives and behaviors through behavioral assessments, employee engagement surveys, data-backed job targets. By understanding the science of your individuals, you can more effectively put them in the right roles to coach and guide them through their development and, candidly, achieve your business objectives. And finally, continuous evaluation. Automotive leaders are fast-paced, highly proactive, and entrepreneurial. Talent transformation isn't a 30-day process. It takes time and consistency. I encourage you to build a cadence with your talent committee, with your senior leadership team, to always be evaluating process, evaluating technology, and your people's role in achieving those business targets. Finally, I'm very grateful that you've taken the time with me today. I hope you were able to take away some nuggets and be able to take some action on what you learned. I'm very excited about the upcoming Q&A and look forward to answering all of your questions. Thanks again, and my email address is here below if you have further questions, but I look forward to seeing you guys here shortly.